Attention, Madridistas across the globe, fasten your seatbelts, because something monumental is brewing inside the marble halls of the Santiago Bernabéu. This isn't just another rumor floating in the digital ether, nor the fleeting whisper of a speculative headline. What's taking shape behind closed doors could become one of the most ambitious, strategic, and symbolically charged operations of recent years. The club that has defined footballing excellence for over a century, the club that turns promising players into global icons, has set its sights on one of Europe's most rapidly ascending defenders, William Pacho, the young Ecuadorian centre-back currently plying his trade at Paris Saint-Germain. From the training pitches of Esmeraldas to the grandest stadiums in Europe, Pacho's rise has been nothing short of meteoric. At just 23, he's earned the admiration of fans and analysts alike for his composure, authority, and almost regal sense of calm. In France, supporters have come to see him as the quiet pillar of PSG's backline, a player who doesn't shout for attention, but commands respect through timing, positioning, and unrelenting discipline. But now, his name echoes through Valdebebas, the beating heart of Real Madrid's sporting operations. 4 months, technical reports have been landing on the desks of the club's decision-makers, each more glowing than the last. The consensus among scouts, analysts, and coaches is unanimous. Pacho is ready. Ready for the next step, ready for the biggest stage, ready for the white shirt that carries more weight than any other in the game. The anatomy of a modern defender. William Pacho represents the new breed of centre-backs redefining the defensive art form. Standing close to 1.86 meters, he combines physical robustness with tactical intelligence and elite-level acceleration. His reading of the game borders on instinctive, intercepting passes before they form, positioning himself in lanes others don't even see. He's as comfortable defending deep as he is stepping high into midfield, breaking opposition lines with crisp, vertical passes. For PSG, he's been a revelation. For Real Madrid, he's become an obsession. His profile ticks all the boxes Florentino Perez and the technical department now look for in a modern signing: youth, intelligence, humility, and adaptability. This isn't the era of Galacticos measured only in celebrity value. This is the Madrid of the future, a team built for longevity, driven by players who understand the philosophy of the badge rather than the noise around it. A dream rooted in childhood. Those close to Pacho often describe his dream as inevitable. Since his early days playing barefoot on the streets of Esmeraldas, his imagination has always been painted white, not PSG blue, not Frankfurt red, not even Ecuador's yellow. White. The color of Real Madrid. In interviews, he has spoken with admiration bordering on reverence for the Spanish giants. He's cited legends like Sergio Ramos, Fabio Cannavaro, and Fernando Hierro as his inspirations. But there's something deeper, almost spiritual, in his connection to Madrid. It's not about money, or fame, or even trophies. It's about meaning. About legacy. Playing for Real Madrid, Pacho once said in a quiet moment during a League One press conference, is not about what you can win. It's about what you represent. That quote, tucked away in the archives of football's vast echo chamber, has resurfaced in recent weeks, because now, the dream seems closer than ever. The Florentino factor. Florentino Perez has seen it all, from signing global superstars like Zidane, Ronaldo, and Beckham, to orchestrating the club's modern reinvention through players like Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, and Bellingham. But even in this era of youth and strategy, the president remains a meticulous architect. Every signing, every decision, carries layers of calculation. Sources close to the club claim Perez has personally reviewed Pacho's dossier multiple times. The feedback from Carlo Ancelotti's technical staff has been overwhelmingly positive. Reports highlight not just his athleticism, but his mentality, his professionalism, his leadership, his serenity under pressure. For Madrid, mentality is not negotiable. The club doesn't just sign footballers, it signs characters. And Pacho, by all accounts, fits the profile of a Madridista even before setting foot in Chamartin. Tactical fit, a piece in Ancelotti's chessboard. From a tactical perspective, Pacho's potential arrival makes perfect sense. With Eder Militao returning from injury, Antonio Rudiger in peak form, and David Alaba approaching a more veteran stage of his career, Madrid needs renewal and depth at the back. Pacho, a natural left-footed defender, would bring balance to a right-heavy defensive structure. Ancelotti, who prizes composure and tactical flexibility, would find in Pacho a player capable of performing both in a back four and a back three. His ball progression and ability to initiate play from deep suit Madrid's evolving style, a hybrid between positional play and counterattacking dynamism. In training footage from PSG, Pacho is often seen orchestrating the first phase of build-up, directing fullbacks, and calling midfielders into specific pockets. His communication is calm, his gestures deliberate, reminiscent of a player far older than 23. Pacho doesn't play football with his legs, a PSG assistant coach once remarked. He plays it with his mind. The negotiation, a game of chess between giants. Of course, no transfer story involving Real Madrid and PSG is ever simple. Relations between the two clubs have long been complicated, shaped by past battles over Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, and other high-profile sagas. Paris knows what it has in Pacho, a rising star, a defensive cornerstone for the next decade. They won't part ways easily. Reports suggest PSG may demand around €70 million, though insiders believe the player's clear desire to join Madrid could become the decisive factor. Behind the scenes, José Ángel Sánchez, the club's general director and Florentino's trusted strategist, is said to be handling the matter with characteristic discretion. Madrid's approach is methodical, quiet, and respectful. No leaks, no noise, just intent. If the operation materializes, it will not merely be another signing. It will be a statement. Ecuador holds its breath. Back in Ecuador, the news has ignited a wave of national pride. Newspapers in Quito and Guayaquil dedicate front-page columns to Pacho's potential transfer. Fans gather outside sports cafes debating what it would mean for the country. For Ecuador, a player wearing the white shirt of Real Madrid isn't just a sporting milestone, it's cultural, historical, almost mythical. Local journalists have described Pacho as El Defensor del Pueblo, the defender of the people, someone whose journey embodies perseverance and quiet greatness. From modest beginnings to the European elite, his story mirrors the spirit of an entire nation eager to see one of its own conquer football's Everest. The human element. Those who know Pacho best speak of humility and inner strength. He's not one for social media dramatics or headline-chasing interviews. Off the pitch, he's known for his discipline, his love for family, and his almost monk-like focus on improvement. Teammates describe him as calm but firm, the kind of player who rarely raises his voice but commands attention when he speaks. In the dressing room, he's a listener, a thinker, and a quiet motivator. That temperament has drawn comparisons to Virgil van Dijk in his early Liverpool years: serene, cerebral, unflappable. For Real Madrid, these traits matter as much as his physical or technical abilities. The club's DNA is built on resilience, composure, and the capacity to perform when the world is watching. A new era beckons. As whispers grow louder in the corridors of the Bernabeu, anticipation spreads among Madridistas. Social media threads buzz with speculation, YouTube compilations of Pacho's best defensive moments rack up millions of views, and pundits begin debating how he could fit into the Madrid system. If this transfer comes to fruition, it won't simply be about a player changing clubs. It will represent the continuation of Real Madrid's evolution, from a team of Galacticos to a dynasty built on vision, discipline, and global scouting excellence. William Pacho wouldn't arrive as a superstar. He would arrive as a believer, a player carrying both the dreams of a nation and the expectations of a club that measures time not in years, but in legends. And perhaps, one day soon, under the bright lights of the Santiago Bernabeu, when the Champions League anthem echoes and 80,000 voices rise in unison, a young man from Esmeraldas will look around, adjust the white sleeves on his jersey, and realize that the dream he carried since childhood has finally come true. Over the course of the current season, William Pacho has quietly transformed from a promising defender into one of the most reliable and composed players in European football. The Ecuadorian centre-back has already played more than 20 official matches across domestic and international competitions, and with every passing game, his influence has grown. Statistics only tell part of the story, but in his case, they serve as a mirror of his excellence. His dual success rate hovers above 80%, a figure that speaks volumes about his strength in one-on-one situations, his timing, and his ability to read the opponent's intentions before they even materialize. His passing accuracy, close to 93%, reflects a player who values possession, who thinks before acting, and who sees the field as a chessboard rather than a battlefield. Pacho doesn't just defend, he builds, orchestrates, and reassures. Watching him play is to witness the art of defensive calmness. He doesn't panic, doesn't rush. He reads space like a mathematician solving an equation in motion. He rarely slides into reckless tackles because he doesn't need to. He intercepts with positioning, anticipation, and clarity of thought. Every clearance is purposeful, every pass is weighted perfectly to advance the team. In a football era obsessed with aggression and spectacle, William Pacho stands out as a quiet conductor of order and balance. Champions League composure. It is on the grandest stage, the UEFA Champions League, where Pacho's qualities have truly shone. Against some of the world's most feared forwards, he has displayed composure beyond his years. Facing strikers like Erling Haaland, Robert Lewandowski, or Lautaro Martinez, he has shown that he is not just another promising defender, but a player built for the highest level of competition. His ability to maintain concentration, anticipate danger, and organize the defensive line has earned him the respect of teammates, coaches, and opponents alike. In a team as star-studded and pressure-filled as Paris Saint-Germain, standing out is not easy. Yet, under the watchful eye of his coach, Pacho has quietly become indispensable. His tactical flexibility allows him to operate in a back three or back four, on the left or centrally, and to adapt seamlessly to different defensive schemes. His manager has praised him publicly on several occasions, describing him as a player who listens, who learns quickly, and who never hides when the team needs him. That humility and adaptability have turned him into one of PSG's most trusted players in high-stakes matches. Even when surrounded by football's brightest stars, Pacho's presence brings calm, a rare quality in a team often accused of chaos under pressure. The Real Madrid connection. It didn't take long for Real Madrid scouts to take notice. The club's recruitment department, always searching for the next generational defender, has been closely monitoring Pacho's evolution. At Valdebebas, Madrid's training complex, his name has been mentioned repeatedly in meetings about future defensive planning. The reports describe him as a complete modern center-back, intelligent, disciplined, physically dominant, and emotionally stable. The parallels are tempting. Madrid's history is filled with defenders who combined elegance with steel, from Sergio Ramos and Pepe to Rafael Varane and Eder Militao. Pacho fits that lineage perfectly. He's not a showman, but he commands respect. He doesn't celebrate tackles as if they were goals. He treats them as part of a larger mission, keeping control. However, any potential move to the Santiago Bernabéu will not be simple. PSG is notorious for being one of the most stubborn clubs in Europe when it comes to transfers, particularly when Real Madrid is on the other side of the negotiating table. The rivalry between the two institutions extends beyond football. It's political, strategic, and deeply personal. After the long, drawn-out saga surrounding Kylian Mbappe, both clubs approach each other with extreme caution. Yet, Florentino Perez, Real Madrid's president, has built his empire precisely by mastering such complex situations. He doesn't rush. He doesn't chase. He waits for the right moment, the right opportunity, the right alignment of sporting ambition and player will. And according to sources close to the player, Pacho would not hesitate if the call from Madrid came. For him, wearing the white shirt would not only be a career leap but a dream realized, one rooted in the dusty pitches of Quinine, where he first kicked a ball as a child. The dream reverberates in Ecuador. Back home, the rumor of a potential move to Real Madrid has become national news. Ecuador's sports media have embraced the story with enthusiasm, seeing in Pacho a symbol of pride and progress. Television programs dissect his every performance. Social media is flooded with clips of his tackles, interceptions, and composed clearances. In the streets of Quito, Guayaquil, and Esmeraldas, people talk about him not as just another player abroad, but as one of their own, a representative of Ecuadorian resilience and ambition on the global stage. For a country that has produced extraordinary talent yet often struggled for recognition in European football's elite circles, the idea of Pacho joining Real Madrid carries emotional weight. It's not merely a football transfer, it's a statement that Ecuador can produce not only gifted attackers but defenders capable of leading at the highest level. Journalists in Ecuador have highlighted Pacho's humble personality and relentless discipline. Former coaches describe him as the player who always stayed after training, obsessed with improving his timing, his passing, his understanding of defensive angles. Friends and family say he hasn't changed despite fame, that he still calls home every week, still supports local youth projects, and still carries the same grounded attitude that took him from the streets of Quinine to the Parc des Princes. The making of a modern defender. At just 20-something years old, William Pacho represents the archetype of the new generation defender. Physically strong yet tactically refined, aggressive when needed yet calm by nature, he embodies the hybrid model that modern football demands. His ball progression, his composure under pressure, and his leadership qualities all point toward a player who could anchor a defense for the next decade. Coaches often remark on his mentality, the way he studies the game, replays his own matches, and asks questions about positioning. He doesn't settle for being good enough. He seeks mastery. He wants to understand the why behind every movement, said one former assistant coach. That's what separates him from others. He doesn't just play football, he analyzes it. Beyond the pitch. Off the field, Pacho carries himself with the same quiet professionalism that defines his play. He avoids controversies, shuns social media drama, and lets his football do the talking. In an age where self-promotion often overshadows performance, his understated presence feels almost refreshing. He has become, perhaps unintentionally, a role model for young Ecuadorians, proof that discipline, patience, and consistency can take you from the local leagues to the pinnacle of world football. Local clubs in Ecuador have even reported increased interest in youth programs since his rise, with young defenders saying, "I want to be like Pacho." The future awaits. Whether the Real Madrid transfer materializes this summer or not, the trajectory of William Pacho's career seems clear. He is destined for greatness. Every performance adds a new layer to his growing reputation. Every duel won, every clean sheet, every composed pass reinforces the notion that Ecuador has produced a defender capable of defining an era. And if one day he does walk onto the pitch of the Santiago Bernabéu, with the white shirt clinging to his shoulders and the crowd roaring his name, it won't just be the story of a transfer. It will be the story of a journey, from the dusty fields of Quinine to the temple of world football. A story of talent refined by humility, and of a young man who never stopped believing that calmness, intelligence, and discipline could be as powerful as any tackle or goal. The growing interest in William Pacho is not some whimsical summer rumor, nor a passing fancy born from the chaos of the transfer market. It's a carefully studied, strategically designed operation, one that has quietly matured inside Valdebebas over months of analysis, observation, and debate. For Real Madrid, this is not about filling a gap. It's about building the next great foundation of the club's defensive empire. Behind every potential Madrid signing lies an intricate network of scouting reports, video analysis, and personality assessments. When the club's analysts began to study Pacho in depth, they didn't just look at his defensive duels or his aerial win rate. They examined how he moved when the team lost possession, how he positioned himself when facing elite attackers, and how he reacted after a mistake. They watched not only the player but the man. What they found was a young defender who plays with an astonishing level of maturity, calm under pressure, intelligent in distribution, fearless in duels, and emotionally stable even in high-stress environments. Pacho, still in his early 20s, has quietly become one of the Bundesliga's standout defenders. His performances for Eintracht Frankfurt have not gone unnoticed, composed in build-up, aggressive when required, yet always thoughtful, almost methodical. He reads the game like a veteran, commands space with authority, and shows the kind of leadership that transcends age. Those inside Real Madrid's sporting department see in him a rare balance, a blend of modern athleticism and old-school defensive spirit. The era of transition. Real Madrid finds itself in a fascinating phase of transformation. The legendary core, Modric, Kroos, Benzema, who has already departed, has carried the club through one of the most glorious decades in football history. But time, inevitably, demands renewal. The new Madrid, envisioned by Florentino Perez and guided by a meticulous recruitment strategy, is being built around a new generation of stars: Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Valverde, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and now, potentially, Pacho. This is not merely a generational shift. It's a structural evolution. Madrid wants players who are not just talented, but mentally wired for greatness. Players who understand that wearing the white shirt is both privilege and burden. Inside the club, they refer to this idea as La Mentalidad Bernabéu, the mentality that transforms talent into legacy. And in Pacho, they believe that mentality exists in its purest form. Pacho's story, after all, is not one of privilege. It's one of perseverance. Born in Quinine, Ecuador, a modest town surrounded by rainforest and humidity, he grew up far from the glittering stadiums of Europe. His journey to the elite was forged in silence, with resilience as his compass. Scouts in Ecuador still talk about the young defender who trained under the rain, who watched European football videos at night, who said, before turning 15, that one day he'd play for Real Madrid. It sounded like fantasy then. It doesn't anymore. The strategic move. Inside the club, this move is seen as more than a sporting investment. It's a long-term vision. Real Madrid's technical department has always been one step ahead when it comes to defensive planning. When Varane was signed as a teenager, he was described as the future of Madrid's defense. A decade later, the same phrase is being whispered about Pacho. Unlike other potential signings, Pacho brings a profile that checks multiple strategic boxes. His left-footedness offers natural balance alongside Eder Militao and Antonio Rudiger. His anticipation allows Madrid to play a higher defensive line. His passing range, crisp, confident, progressive, aligns with the club's philosophy of building from the back. He's not merely a stopper, he's an initiator. In an era where modern football demands central defenders who can think like midfielders, Pacho stands out. His ability to receive under pressure, to break lines with measured passes, and to read transitions makes him an ideal fit for Carlo Ancelotti's evolving system, one that values control, tempo, and vertical precision. Florentino Perez's project isn't about signing the biggest names, it's about creating them. And for that, he needs players who combine talent with hunger, athletes who still see Madrid as the ultimate destination, not a stepping stone. That's why Pacho matters. The power of desire. Modern football negotiations are complex, filled with agents, clauses, and countless variables. Yet, amid all the machinery of business, one force remains decisive: the player's will. When a footballer truly wants to play for Real Madrid, the story tends to find its way to the same ending. According to sources close to Pacho's camp, his desire is absolute. He doesn't see Madrid as just another big club, he sees it as destiny. Those who know him describe him as humble, focused, and deeply aware of what the white shirt represents. He's ready to take the leap, to leave behind comfort for challenge, to exchange familiarity for immortality. He understands, too, the symbolic dimension of what it would mean. No Ecuadorian has ever played for Real Madrid. His arrival would echo across South America, from the Andes to the Amazon. 4 million of Ecuadorian fans, seeing Pacho walk out onto the Santiago Bernabéu would be more than a sporting moment. It would be history in motion. A dream once thought impossible would finally take shape in the most iconic stadium on earth. The global significance. Real Madrid has always been more than a club. It is an idea, a universal symbol of excellence, ambition, and legacy. Every generation of fans finds new heroes, but the myth remains constant. To play for Madrid is to test yourself against eternity. The potential signing of Pacho would further expand that myth into new territory. In recent years, the club's global strategy has been clear: strengthen emotional connections across continents. After the Brazilian wave, with Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Endrick, the emergence of an Ecuadorian figure would open a new emotional frontier in Latin America. For Ecuador, a country whose footballing identity has grown rapidly in the past decade, this would be monumental. It would not only inspire a generation of young athletes but also affirm Ecuador's place on the global football map. If one of us can reach Madrid, they'll say, then nothing is impossible. The technical dimension. On the tactical side, Pacho offers precisely what Real Madrid's defense needs as it evolves into the next decade. His pace allows him to recover quickly in transition, crucial in a team that often dominates possession and leaves space behind. His ability to read vertical passes and intercept before danger develops recalls the instincts of players like Rafael Varane in his prime. Moreover, his comfort with the ball makes him ideal for Madrid's modern approach. Ancelotti's system increasingly relies on central defenders who can dictate tempo and participate in build-up. Pacho's diagonal passing opens channels for Vinicius and Bellingham, while his composure helps Madrid escape high-pressing opponents. He's not just a defender, he's a conductor from the back. The coaching staff also values his mental attributes. Calm, disciplined, relentless. He doesn't panic. He doesn't seek the spotlight. But when the moment demands courage, he steps forward. That quiet leadership, they say, is exactly what Madrid needs for the future. A voice that doesn't shout, but commands. The scene that could be. Imagine the night. The Champions League anthem rises through the crisp Madrid air. The Santiago Bernabéu glows like a cathedral under the floodlights. 80,000 fans, dressed in white, rise in unison as the team emerges from the tunnel. And there he is, William Pacho, stepping onto the pitch, eyes fixed, heart steady, the crest shining over his chest. The moment he's dreamed of since childhood finally real. He adjusts his armband, glances toward the crowd, and silently vows to make history not just for himself, but for his country. The whistle blows. The ball rolls. And from that moment, a new chapter begins, not just in his career, but in the story of Real Madrid itself. Beyond a transfer. If the operation materializes, it will not be remembered as a simple transfer. It will be remembered as a statement. A declaration of continuity, of renewal, of belief in the future. Real Madrid has never been a club that lives in the past. It respects history but is always chasing what comes next. Pacho's arrival would be more than the addition of a talented defender. It would symbolize the bridge between generations, cultures, and dreams. It would remind the football world that greatness is not inherited, it is earned, one tackle, one game, one dream at a time. Because when Real Madrid sets its sights on something, the world stops to watch. And if this story finds its conclusion, if William Pacho one day walks through the gates of the Bernabeu as a Madridista, it will not merely be a signing. It will be a testament to destiny, to perseverance, and to faith in what lies ahead. A story that smells of future, of glory, of Bernabeu.